exemplary visionary, an outstanding educator, a longtime feminist, and above all, one of my very best friends. When all is said and done, all we have left are our memories. And when we are gone, our memories are gone with us. And so it has been since the beginning of time. So little is known of the past. This is why we treasure Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey, and Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, and Tolstoy's War and Peace. They give us a window into the past. They tell stories of what happened and what people felt and thought. Our knowledge of the past 6,000 years of human history has been passed on to us by these great authors. All men, of course. So all we know of the past 6,000 years of events and feelings are filtered through the perceptions of men. Whoops. Where are the women? What did women do, think, and feel? Surely we were around for the last 6,000 years. Otherwise, the human race would not have survived. Women have always had to struggle to have their voices heard. But how can this happen with no history? One of the most important and seismic events of the 20th century was the second wave of the women's movement. The women's movement of the 1960s, 70s, and 80s changed the face of America, and more importantly, changed the thinking of America. Those of us living through that period did not realize that we were part of a turning point in American history. Fortunately, there was a group that realized that the catalyst for change depended on women knowing their history. Without knowledge of our history, we were forced to reinvent the wheel on every issue. In the winter of 1973, several faculty members of the Department of American Thought and Language at Michigan State University met to discuss the development of women's studies in the department. They recognized that if women's studies was to grow into a positive force for change, a concerted effort would have to be made to impress the academic community with its worth. The idea was that if every college and university in the state could have a women's studies program, the stories and accomplishments of women could become part of the foundational knowledge of all American students and hence part of the fabric of American culture. Out of this meeting came the idea for what was to become the Michigan Women's Studies Association. They realized that others must share their feelings that a need existed for bringing together people involved in teaching women's studies to share ideas and provide mutual support and encouragement. They convened a meeting of like-minded individuals throughout the state on the campus of Michigan State University in May of 1973. Representatives of a dozen Michigan colleges and universities responded to the invitation. All shared the feeling that an organization was needed that was dedicated to the goals of creating women's studies program in all our schools of higher education, facilitating the exchange of information about women's issues and identifying the women at these institutions who were committed to spreading the gospel of women. Thus was created the Michigan Women's Studies Association, the first association of its kind in the nation. It predated the founding of the National Women's Studies Association by 2 years. Gladys Beckwith was elected and served as president of the MWSA for 36 years until her retirement in 2010. Oh, good grief, that's a long time. What in the world did she do all that time? Well, let's see what she did. achieved their first goal. All colleges and universities in Michigan had a women's studies program. As a result, lots of new research was done on the accomplishment of individual women. Who were they? What did they do? What were they doing? What impact did they have on all of our lives? And particularly, what was the history of Michigan women? Gladys and the board decided it was time to expand their vision. They created the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame to honor extraordinary Michigan women, contemporary and historic, for their accomplishments and contributions to Michigan history. The first induction ceremony was held October of 1983. Since then, over 260 women have been inducted in the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame. At the same time the association was creating the Hall of Fame, Gladys wanted to expand on Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own. Gladys believed that Michigan women needed a place of their own. So in 1979, she learned that the historic Cooley Hayes House in downtown Lansing was about to be torn down and replaced with a parking lot. After a great deal of negotiating with the city of Lansing, the association was able to obtain a $1 a year lease on the property, contingent on the ability to raise funds to renovate the facility and bring it up to code. This was no small task, since at the time, the association possessed less than $1,200, and the repairs were estimated at $250,000. However, by 1985, funds were raised, and with additional help from women's organizations, especially the Michigan Federation of Business and Professional Women, the building was completed in 1987. Now, before we go on, we need to say a quick thank you to Jerry Beckwith, Gladys's husband, for his contribution. Jerry and Gladys were a team. She was the visionary. Jerry was the lawyer who dealt with the leases and the subcontractors, as well as Gladys's honey-do list. He's looking down on us tonight and saying, well done, Gladys, well done. The Michigan Women's Historical Center was officially opened on June 10, 1987, with Gladys as the executive director. Under her direction, the center became a statewide museum for women's history and an art gallery to showcase Michigan women artists. She took us into the 21st century by developing the virtual Michigan Women's Hall of Fame, which put information about our honorees together with lesson plans on the internet. This will make women's history available to all educators, students, and anyone who surfs the web. Wow, Gladys was a busy lady all those years. Now, don't forget, while she was doing all of this, she was a full-time professor at Michigan State until her retirement in 1999. She served on the Lansing School Board for 18 years, and most importantly, she was a full-time mom to her daughter, Christine. All right, folks, look around you. None of us would be here tonight without the vision, the dedication, the commitment, the stamina, and the plain, down and dirty hard work of Gladys Beckwith. And we're all dead and gone, every single one of us in this room. People who are not yet born tonight will be coming to the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame dinner to honor the